Welcome back to FreedoniaCon 2026. With us right now, we have Brad Decker, who is the fabulous line developer for 1879. I believe this is the state of the line.
Yes, it is.
Take it away, Brad.
Alrighty, well, thank you everybody for tuning in here, and for everybody who watches it on YouTube later, thank you for checking things out. So just kind of going over where we are at with 1879, covering. We talked about some of our previous upcoming books, which are written, and we're currently in the middle of wrapping up art and layout. Those are going to be Shifting Tides and Creatures of the Grove. So Shifting Tides is an adventure module. It's got a series of several adventures that will kind of cover the climax of the story arc that we've been building up within the Grove. Um, there are campaigns that take place on both the British and the Samset side, so you'll get a chance to play characters from either side, however you choose. And both of them kind of combine together in the end to complete the story arc. So it's worthwhile taking a look at both sides of it, even if you don't play, one side or the other. But it's still an interesting read to go through everything and see how it all develops. That will complete our arc of things that's taking place within the Grove, and then we'll talk about where it's going after that in a moment. And then going along with that is Creatures of the Grove, and that is going to be covering uh, basically just all the different creatures that we've had going around building up in all over the Grove. It's kind of we're making this sort of the big conclusion for this arc. So we'll touch upon all the different areas that we've gone through. Just getting all the Grove is really where we can kind of, as I said before when I talk about the writing, we throw the spaghetti at the wall and we see what sticks. So there's a lot of really weird stuff going on. So the creatures will range in size and challenge rating and all different sorts. Gives you a lot of really crazy and fantastical ideas for things to do. Uh, and they should be able to fit in pretty much any campaign, in any adventure that takes place in the Grove. Anything that you can come up with ideas for. And once that concludes, we are moving through the rabbit hole. And our next books that'll be coming out are for the Americas. We're focusing Union and Confederacy and covering everything there as we start the next story arc. Uh, Basically, how the story ends up going, without getting too deep into spoilers. The British have a really hard push into the Samset lands, and then some things go awry, and the British end up realizing that they need some help. So we're going to start exploring other nations around the world and how they might fit into the Grove conflict. So it'll be the British going around and seeing what's happening. All the rest of the nations are out on Earth, and Union Confederacy is where we're going to start that. The plan after this is to keep going around to all different types of nations. I know there's been requests for several different places, so we've got a few plans in place for some of those. Um, we haven't got an exact order for things going out. I've got a general idea of where we want to go and in the main highlights that we want to cover, but I don't know exactly which one we're hitting after the Americas. But I know America's coming first because that's been the biggest one that's been requested. And I'll pause here for a bit if people have questions or ideas or whatever you want to throw at it. Joel, you were also kind of leading up everything on uh, Shifting Tides. So if you have commentary you want to throw in there to expand on things, by all means, go ahead.
Bear with me one moment.
I have lots of ideas. Most of them are bad.
I'd like to say sort of Shifting Tides that it definitely sort of brings a plot to the accumulation of the plot we've been building towards, and the conflict in the Grove, and then by the end of it, it has really shaken things up. and change the nature of what's going on in the Grove in a whole bunch of ways. Which has been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to write and plan that one as my first big project that I'd been in charge on. And I tried to sort of take what we had and then expand it outwards. And it doesn't matter what campaign. There is stuff in there wherever you run a campaign. I think there is stuff you can use, but obviously the main focus is the big stuff going in the Grove. But it's not just battles. There's a complex plot, and there's a lot more agendas than simply the British versus the Samsut getting involved in it. And I'm looking forward to adding more to that as we go along.
So is it an
definitely
adventure?
add a lot of. It is a series of several adventures, but yes, there's there's kind of three arcs to it almost. There are a series of British adventures, there's a series of Samsut adventures, and then there's the conclusion series where they kind of go back and forth and play into one another.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was a source book or like an adventure book. So
it's an adventure book. Yes.
It's an adventure book. It has some adventures that are in London that sort of act as a prologue and very thematic. I was trying to be artistic, and then there are plot lines, and several of them can be played through from either side. And the final battle is written entirely with the idea being that you can run it for both sides or together.
You could almost have one group doing the British side, one group doing the Samsut campaigns, and then they both come together in the end.
Huh.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say there's probably more material for the British side, but equally, I kind of like the idea you could produce a bunch of, as a GM, you could produce a bunch of remade Samsut characters and then let the players run it through with their own characters running through, ending up working with the British military, doing a lot of stuff, and a lot of the British stuff falls into the category of the sort of thing you'd expect special forces to be doing, because that's the sort of thing PCs tend to do well.
Exactly, that's what they tend to be.
They tend to be, exactly. It's no fun being part of a firing line. Yeah, after a little bit. You wouldn't want to do it every adventure. And the Samsut side has a whole lot of investigation and plotting and trying to work out what's going on.
A lot of political intrigue.
Manipulating every side in this. And it's sort of clear who's behind it all at the end of it. But as to exactly what their agenda is, that's something I have future plans for. And I'll leave it at that. But it's interesting. And I'm looking forward to people, enjoying it, I hope.
Yeah, since we did the 3-part series for the Acadian Connection, this is the first major adventure grouping that we've done, and it's all combined into one book. So whereas that one was a set of 3 books that had arcs to the campaign that's going to take a party all the way through, this is one book where you could really have multiple campaigns going on simultaneously if you wanted. And it has a lot more focus in the scope of where it is.
So I know that you're wanting to head to the Americas, and you mentioned other countries. Is there any countries you'd like to see besides the Americas? Well, America. Because America
we have. Yes, yeah. We have some ideas for France and some crazy things that will end up going on there. But I don't want to spoil too much yet because we have some different plot threads. But I will say, if it goes the way I'm hoping and thinking it will, we might do some ties to Earthdawn with some of the ideas I have. And I've talked about this with Joel to coordinate back and forth on some of that idea.
Yep.
Ooh. You know how
So
I
for
feel
people
about
who are looking
tie-ins.
for yes, so for people who are looking for those Easter eggs, there's ideas for things and where that might end up going.
I'd like to cover at some point what we would call the Middle East, and anything in Europe, because it's just interesting to play with exactly where history has changed, and what conflicts are different, and that sort of thing.
When
And
Joe first got on with us, one of the first things he said that he wanted to do was an expanded British Isles book, and this is where we're finally going to put that in. It will be within this grouping in plot points.
yep. Yeah, in between writing everything else I'm writing, but life is
Yeah.
like that.
Shh, Joel, you're gonna get me killed by a train in my sleep. Quit.
Oh, I
Thomas
definitely sleep
Trainston,
through
he's
a
so
train
little
coming
evidence
at
over
you.
who did it.
That's true. It is in my, desk that if I get killed by a train, it was obviously Brad.
You wouldn't sleep through a train.
I would actually. I slept through a trailer blowing up, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd sleep through that too. If you get me to sleep, I'm very sound. But questioning about with 1879, um, I know you just are in the midst of completing Creatures of the Grove. Are we gonna see a creatures like a awakening creatures of the non-Grove?
I would like to start doing some additional creatures for Earth. I don't have enough planned for a source book just yet. I mean, obviously, anytime we can do source books and that sort of thing, I would absolutely love to. I just haven't gotten that worked into the schedule of things in plan enough for it yet. If we can get to there eventually, then yeah, absolutely. As right now, my thoughts for Earth are mostly on the story arc, but I think once we've gone around to some of the different areas and seen different things, different culture, different regions, and that's going to involve flora and fauna and things that will how magic and everything is affected there. And I have plans for that story arc as well. I think definitely something looking at creatures and something like that after that point would definitely be in the cards. And Matt, I see your questions from the text chat about adventure modules and international globe. Getting ahead of myself. Adventure modules planned for the new countries and international globetrotter campaign series. Definitely possibilities. Things with that. I don't have specific plans on those. My thoughts at this point are more let's go around and explore some of the different areas and start covering a broader scope of where things could go. But absolutely, uh, campaigns and story arcs and things like that could be in the cards once we start exploring around some different areas. So as people get ideas to get, wherever people have the interest for it, absolutely we'll explore some of those in greater depth. Uh, my thought is I kind of want to start spanning out and let's get out of just London. Let's expand and get everybody the entire sandbox that is the globe. Let's get around and see where the interest is, see where the stories kind of take us, and then we'll fill in the gaps further from there once we start, but we'll get the broad strokes, bigger picture, and then we can start filling in some of the more of the details. Uh, I know Andrew before had talked about doing source books and things focused on cities and looking at those specific regions. I think those might be things that we could do in the future, but my main focus is going to be on the countries more. Let's get the wider areas, and then if we come down the line later where we want to fill in for specific cities where they're particularly significant, then those are absolutely things that we look at a later date.
I think that either continental or nation state level source books are probably a bit better idea than just at a city level, because there's too many damn cities.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, and like I said, things that we can look into at a later time where we want to fill in more of that information and start getting into some of that. But definitely when we're starting, we want to take the broader strokes and like you said, look at countries, regions, nations, that continents, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we could do cities. There's plenty of cities where there'd be enough material to do a full source book on the city. But
You mean
Absolutely.
like London?
I think it's a better use of our resources to do something broader, because we're being based on history. It's not like people can't go and do research and find maps and details of things within the cities as they would have existed at the time.
Exactly. And London's a little bit of an outlier just because that's where the portal is. That's kind of where everything plot-wise started. So it was more essential to get London covered. But as we expand
I
out and
absolutely agree.
cover additional areas, yeah, the cities take more of a backseat. But as I said, they are definitely things that we can look into filling in at a later date if there's something, we have a specific story or something like that. Really, where I would prefer to do it is rather than doing like a source book on the city, I would prefer to do an adventure that's focused on a particular city so that you're getting the adventure and getting the material all kind of covered in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we always do the asides with different history plot points and where our history is diverged and that sort of things. That's in damn near every source book and adventure book and things like that. And I know there's been the request to look at Canada, so that'll be in the list at some point.
Yeah. Well, we've got Andre is sort of not here, but I know he's been, he's Canadian, and I think it's an interesting thing to look at because it's very much still it's not quite the right word, a developing nation, in that it's a nation that is still developing into something we would recognise as its modern form, because it's the Dominion of Canada at this point, rather than a full separate nation in and of itself.
At this point, so much of it very much is still wilderness that just has not been tapped for resources fully.
And yeah, exactly, and it's so much of it is just as you say, just wilderness and empty space at the moment, and
some things may be influenced a little bit differently. I mean, we've seen how that has gone for the British exploring in the Grove and the exploitation of resources there. And, they're kind of coming across some things very quickly going, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea. So that might change some things with the history now.
There's always the chance the British Empire might learn some lessons from the events during shifting tides, because there are some major lessons they can take from that. Whether they take it from that or not is well, I think historically speaking, the British Empire was very bad at learning its lessons at times, or always learning the lessons it should from situations. And so we shall see. But yeah, we're starting to run into we're making decisions about very serious levels of alternate history from the way things go, because of how much of a lot of history of the world is 1900s onwards at times.
Yeah, well, and just how much that time period still affects us today.
Yeah.
I have a question. I know you're talking about going to the Americas. By the time the story gets to the Americas, how much more magic is in the world? How much has it grown?
There is going to be some changes with the magic level, and I've touched on that in some of the previous ones. I don't want to give away specifics for it. For right now, the magic level won't have grown significantly from where we had gone when we started the Grub arc, but there are some changes that will be coming for that in the near future. And the story arc, when we start going around to different countries, is going to start kickstarting a lot of that. So you will start seeing additional things coming up as that is building up.
Yeah. And I'll say, one of those things me and Brad have sat around and discussed is things like dragons and what dragons we want where and what's going on with that, just to sketch out so we can start to work out where the power players are. And and while that's not fancy magic stuffing up, it is big, obvious magic stuff being active and seeing what that's doing. And we know everybody likes dragons.
Like we have plushy dragons.
Yeah.
Earthdawn, not Earthdawn, 1879 dragon plushies.
Several of those dragon plushies are entirely in, but certainly there's at least one of them we know where the dragon is in both Earthdawn and 1879 of the ones that has been released.
So there's the ones that are the same dragon, and then we may have some new ones that come into the fold.
Yeah. And
especially if one of those is
they
purple, because I want a purple dragon.
I have a purple dragon knocking around. It's sighted in Earthdawn. There is one where purple is a justifiable colour for them. And I have some thoughts on them in 1879 as well. So, just name a colour, I'll find you a dragon. I'm good for that.
If we don't have one, we'll make one up.
Oh, yes.
Those dragons are awesome.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice to do an 1879 tag. Or maybe get Ross to do a two-sided tag, where one side says Earthdawn and the other side says something 1879.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And obviously one of the things we get to do in 1879 with going to the Americas is we've got excuses to see some feathered dragons, which are, they exist.
Not going to be very easy to do necessarily as a plushie. Yeah. But we'll talk.
Well, manufacturing, but as far as art.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, art-wise, awesome. I want to see it.
I think there's ways we could get some of that effect, but yeah, it's working out the logistics of it. But I think it's worth exploring because that gives us more dragons we can sell.
Exactly.
And I've got at least one great form, one Leviathan knocking around that will appear when I get to do the British source book, because I had a look around and have an idea for a Leviathan living in British waters. So we have Sea Dragon plushie. Possibly 1,000-gallon hat, Matty. Dragons are very, very big in our games.
Oh, that's true.
I think we figured a dragon's head is usually scaled to be about the size of a VW bus.
Yeah, certainly great dragons. Yeah,
somewhere around there.
Well, they could just wear like a normal cowboy hat as a fascinator.
I'm going to let you in on something. Dragons don't need fascinators. They're already fascinating.
Yeah, but they might want a fascinator. It might make the dragon happy. And we should make the dragons happy.
And we have different ideas on what makes dragons happy.
Entirely sane and sensible.
Do not meddle in the affairs of dragons, for your crunching go well with ketchup.
Also true. So you're not going to be able to make it to Gen Con this year. But did you write a scenario? Because you've been
Actually, I don't
writing
think
one
we have
every year.
anybody. Yeah, I don't think we have anybody that's going to be for the 1879 one at Gen Con this year. I won't be
Debbie,
there
I think, was
because
going to run some 1879.
I think actually one of my suggestions for 1879 would be if miracles happen and I can get there, what I might run if I could get late registered events would be the actual first adventure of the prologue of the Shifting Tides is could be quite a nice like con type adventure because it's relatively light-hearted and strange in its way. But I think it's doable in 3 hours.
definitely possible. But no, I to answer the question, no, I have not written a new scenario because I didn't have any knowledge of what all was going to be happening. But as you said, we do have a collection of adventures that have been composed. We have 10 of them now, and we do
Oh,
have the
that's
intention.
right.
We do have the intention that we're going to take all 10 of those adventures and compile them into a book. So that will be one that's going to get released at some point in the production schedule.
That'll be
Everything's written for it.
fantastic.
We just gotta update the art and maps and everything like that for book quality rather than just us scrambling and running things at a con. But yeah, so we will have all of those released and available in book form, so you could run any of our 1879 Gen Con scenarios
I
once
think
we have that
that's a
compiled.
great thing.
Yeah, I like to run 1879 at Origins as well.
Yeah, I'm actually still waiting on your game schedule.
Yes, you are.
But not right this second because we're here doing this. But you've run several of them, and as far as you had said to me, you enjoyed running them.
Yeah, and went over well with the players as well.
So, are you curious about anything 1879, Miss Debbie?
Yeah, I'm wanting to get a look at the Shifting Tides book, of course.
Well, of course, you have access to the box files, I believe.
Yeah, I probably could see it previewed.
I've been enjoying the Creatures of the Grove, ones I've read so far.
Yeah, creature books are always a
Fun.
good addition to any role-playing game, I feel.
There were some of the creatures that have been fun to write. I had fun writing the Foamer. And for anybody who isn't aware, Foamer is a kind of derogatory term that's used for rail fans by actual railroad crews because they say rail fans of this type tend to foam at the mouth and try to run the tracks and cause problems. So I just wrote a creature based off of that concept. They're essentially little goblinoid kind of critters, and they in the grub they would naturally hunt large beasts that would let off big roars and shouts. So when they hear something roaring, like an engine going across the plains, blasting a whistle, they start frothing at the mouth and charge at it, thinking that it's dinner.
Wow.
Yeah, they seem horrible. I edited that one, which is awesome because that's what you want. What about you?
Yeah. They're supposed to be awful.
Yeah, exactly. Joel, did you have a favorite one out of the Creatures of the Grove?
I hadn't done a lot on Creatures of the Grove because I was mostly focusing on Shifting Tides, but the two I was very happy with the Boulder Osiris, which is kind of like a lap rhino is the best way to put it.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of chunky. It's not got a horn, but otherwise think rhino. And I 100% based its characterization on my encounters with Sunny, Brad's dog, as a very overly friendly, miniature
Oh.
rhino, and it
Overly friendly big creature that thinks he's about half of the size that he actually is.
But it's also
And has
quite,
a tongue that has a mind of its own.
yeah, and entirely written as a sort of very friendly and incredibly loyal, and will be, you are harming, you are a threat to my best friend, I shall now smash you, sort of protective pet. And I really enjoyed them. And then there's the Eaters of the Dead, which are all I will say for them. They're a sentient race living in the Grove that are a ginormous Earthdawn Easter egg, and I'll leave it at that. But anyone who looks at them once you look at the book will go, oh, wait a second, aren't they an Earthdawn? And they'll be right. And it's entirely intentional, so I make no apologies. I just enjoyed adding those in, because I like that. I like doing that sort of thing, and you let me do it, so...
Yeah, I let my writers get away with so much stuff, so if you want to get into writing a bunch of crazy crap, come join my team. I twist you people up and let you go.
Brad runs an absolutely great, fun meeting.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, the meeting function that runs a lot of the time, where Brad would go, what about this thing? What do we think? And then myself and one of the other British writers, Alex, would start bouncing ideas off each other, and you could tell by the reactions of the Americans with video feeds going, oh no, the British guys are being strange again. But that was mostly playing around with technological uses of the Samsut Undead for the Samsut sourcebook, which got strange and dark at points, and we're very pleased with that. The using zombies as long-range communication devices was a particularly good one.
I think half of our ideas are just somebody found a meme or a GIF or something, and then we all just like, okay, wait a minute, how can we make that work?
Yeah, pretty much. And just how do you do that, and what you got, and their technology is dead bodies being animated. So, yeah, cool.
I will post in the chat
device with undead.
When we were writing stuff for the Saurids and we're coming up with ideas for Shifting Tides, this meme came up at multiple points.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep,
Yeah.
The aquatic saurids. They live in the seas.
They got some weird crap going on.
They've got a lot of weird crap going on, and giant lobsters they ride into battle, so you know what's not to love.
I mean, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Oh, we have dinosaurs too, but no, the aquatic saurids, yeah, no, they ride lobsters like horses.
Really? Not
Yes.
even not even mosasaurs?
Oh, they have that stuff too.
Okay.
They have. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's not all just one thing, but they got more than one thing going on.
But Andy, this means we could have lizardmen on dinosaurs fighting lizardmen on lobsters. Just think of the imagery and the weeping and gnashing of teeth on behalf of the art department.
Which is just
okay. Now I'm in again.
You see, I knew you'd understand.
Night, don't let him stay up too late.
Basically, have the predator.
Joel, don't get us in trouble. We love Michelle.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries. I'll do my best.
That's actually a good question,
Yeah.
Maddie. I mean, I'm curious. Are there dragons in the Grove?
There are not dragons in the Grove, and that's a potential plot point that I won't get into details on
Oh.
because people may do different things with their campaign. But there are dinosaurs, and it is written in the Samsut source book that there's the potential for zombified dinosaurs as mounts.
Yep.
I remember we talked about this on the podcast. And we're with the control rods and stuff.
Yes.
Theoretically, because of the way the Samsut technology works, if you could get a large dragon corpse on a train and get it into the Grav and then to Samsut lands, you could probably get it animated. But to be honest, for just ease of transport, you're probably best trying to get rid of all the flesh and just animating the skeleton.
When trying to drag something magically active through the portal gets finicky.
Well, it's not really magically active
Oh.
when it's dead.
But there's still quite a bit of magical potential even within, dead dragon bones and that sort of thing. So
look,
you might be able to do it, but you might have to bribe several fae.
Just because, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing, even if it's tricky.
As I said, I'm not saying you can't do that in your own campaign. I'm not going to write a source book about it because it gets really, really freaking weird.
And also, very, very, very importantly, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And we're not expecting that.
Well, that
expecting
too.
That.
I mean, there's some stuff that we've pushed in that direction just because, it makes for good story arcs.
I had a question, which is totally unrelated to everything that's come up so far. How have you gone with the redevelopment you had planned for the character sheet?
So
Backburnered?
I've been playing with the character sheet in Andy's campaign. I think it's functioning fairly well. I do have intentions of doing a release with that, but we're trying to get some of the wiki stuff and that sort of things going for it. What I would really like to be able to do is to get a final design that we can do do it as like a character folio, but then also have it where you can release it as a PDF that's editable, and then can just like auto calculate your steps and everything like that.
That would be lovely.
And having different things. So we're still sorting through some of the ideas and things with the wiki and integrations there. I would like to be able to integrate all of that. So I haven't gone forward with that yet, but I do have a preliminary version that I think works pretty well as a character folio. We have been using the updated character sheets for the demos. When we've run those for Gen Con, I think we've had those for 4 years now. And those have functioned very well, I think.
I think this would be coming up for the fourth year. They would certainly have been that style since I've been coming to Gen Con.
Yeah, so the Gen Con character sheets I think work very well. Like I said, that's not going to be the final design for what I want to do for like the character folios when we eventually get there, but for the quick one-offs, I think it functions very well, and it has a lot of convenience factors to it. I believe I've posted those in the 1879 board at some point, but I can upload another copy of the document if you need it.
If it's there, I'll find it at some point.
It's somewhere there, but I don't know how far back. But I can. If you don't find it, ping me, and I will get you a copy of the document because I have all of those.
Yeah, I only asked because I was digging through my files and looking for the pictures of the murals that inspired my 1879 campaign for Andy, and the pictures are gone. But I did find all of the character sheets that I'd created. And I'm like, oh right, character sheets.
Yep.
It's only been a year since I last asked.
And that's one that I'm going to do when we.
That's not a criticism.
When we update all of the character sheets and scenarios to do the Gen Con scenario book, I want to have all the character sheets updated in the new format because I haven't gone through and done the old ones yet. which that shouldn't be too hard. It's just taking the existing information and transferring it over. It's just, you got to sit and do the busy work, and trying to get books compiled takes a lot longer.
Oh, believe me, I know. Is there anything you can share on the miniatures game as well? I assume not. No new movements on the miniatures front.
I'm waiting for some update. I know there's some updates for things going on with miniatures, with U18 core and everything like that. I'm kind of waiting for some of that to get finished being worked out, and that'll go through on like the demo world side. I think some of that's getting pushed in parallel with the website updates and everything like that. Once the U18 and everything else is sort of stabilized, we have a bunch more material to go over, where we can add additional things for the miniatures, catching up with everything that we've covered in the Grove arc so far. We have all the
Yeah, I
different
think I've got
Sauron
enough.
forces.
Yeah, we've got enough material to do Sauron forces. I'd need to have a look at the rules, but I think it's not terribly. Yeah,
I mean, we
it's
can
one
do
of those.
land sword forces. We can do aquatic swords. I don't know,
Yeah.
for different combinations there. We can do expansions for the British forces, the Samset forces, covering all the different things that
Yeah.
that we've introduced with those books. And that was always where I had kind of intended it to be, is as we expanded on the war front and on those forces. After that had been completed, then we would introduce more of those things into the miniatures line. But I wanted to get everything presented, story and lore wise, which just functions so much better as part of the RPG than the miniatures. So at this point, we're kind of waiting for the U18 mechanics and everything to finish getting updated. But once that's done, then we can absolutely look at doing some additional designs and additional forces and different source books for that. I am not a miniatures guy myself, so if there is anybody who is interested in doing the miniatures, who wants to do the writing for that, by all means, send us the info. We'll get you set, because I don't have anybody that does that.
If the stars ever align, me and Alex will have a sit down and look at it properly, because Alex is much more of a miniatures guy than I am.
And if you take on another
And
project
also-
right now, Joel,
I'd be getting someone else to take it on, and then doing a little bit of help playtesting.
because I'm not going to let Michelle have to come out here and kill me.
It's true. It's fine. I'll be good. But I just have ideas and look at things, and yeah. And in that case, it would be hopefully but me trying to farm it off on someone else, so it's not me doing it.
Well, and speaking of ideas and playtesting and things, I think we had touched on this for a previous one, but I think we've got a better basis for it after last Gen Con. We had talked about doing a board game setup with airship racing. And last year at Gen Con, we had played Circus Imperium. I think we might want to do something using those rules as sort of the basis for it, and set up an airship racing game.
Yeah.
And this would be something that would come out after the Americas. I said from the start, when we get to the Americas and we get to the South, this is the culture that created NASCAR out of moonshine runs. Oh, yes, somebody's going to take an airship that's run on hydrogen and try to race it.
I've got ideas that the British do what the British do with anything like that, which is try and apply intelligent, clever engineering to it and out technology people, because
Oh, absolutely. And I'm thinking as we explore different nations, we'll be able to include the different things like that, because you're going to have the Americans that are just going to do stupid, crazy stuff that's going to be insane, but somehow it works. You have the British doing the very high tech, high end steam engineering and everything very solid, very stable. Not necessarily the fastest, but it's big and it's powerful and it holds up. And then you could have like the Prussians going on, where they do all the crazy electrics. There's a bunch of different ideas for things that you can do to introduce some of those things. The different designs can play mechanically with how your ship would function within the race. So yeah, we've got some ideas there, and it's something that I think we would like to introduce at some point. I don't know about doing it as an around the world in 80 days. My thought is doing it as like a closed course, because like I said, we will introduce airship racing into the lore within the tabletop game. It's going to come up. The races are going to start from the Confederacy in the South, and it will start spreading like wildfire as everybody goes around. As it goes around to different places.
I think I've made a reference. I can't remember whether I have done it already or was planning to make a reference to the idea of one of the point of view characters and some of the stuff I've started to put together for one of the America's source books of the character seeing races being essentially P.T. Barnum bringing up the airship racing from the Confederacy to the Union so that people can see it. And of course, it's just outside New York because that just seemed like a reasonable thing to do.
Because everything goes to New York.
Everything goes to New York, and Barnum's still alive at this point in history, and promoting racing would also be a thing that man would do because he just promoted things.
And then mechanically for the game, what I'm kind of envisioning with it, and we haven't even gotten to play testing anything yet, but just kind of where my mind is thinking with it, I would kind of like to do it as a tileable course, so you can custom make your course when you start the game, and then just what I would really like to do is make them hex tiles. And then you would have the different strips for the race course going through so that they all kind of connect together like a puzzle. So you could either make it like a long continuous single stretch course. You could make it loop and to go around for different turns. Each turn, depending on how tight it is, causes different difficulties and everything like that. So a lot of different possibilities for things you could do. But that's where I'm thinking is let's make it so that the courses are customizable, and then if you wanted to expand it out, you could always we can sell packs with additional additional tokens or tiles, I should say, and then you can expand it out and make it an even larger course if you want.
Don't worry about us, Brad. We're trying to figure out how to do the rest of this. We're now focused our geekhood on building this game.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where things end up going. But so these are ideas that we've had kicked around, and I've got some concepts of things that I've sketched up. We just haven't gotten to the spot where we've got the production cycle free to get super deep into it. But it's one of the things that I think would go over really well, that there would be interest for. And I think it's something that we could produce fairly easily.
I think so too, but I actually really like the idea of having like one board game and then your miniatures that you would go around in the race with being line specific with a couple of cute rule variations for each line and then sell them as expansions.
Oh, you could. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and I think that would actually,
if you do them as tiles.
Yeah, especially if we do it as tiles. I think where the heck is Ross? Because I don't see why he would be against this. This is a brilliant plan.
It's always been, I was even looking at the thought of going, how can we take Etherstream and add a few extra knobs, not Interceptor, and just add a few extra bits in to make it a racing game. But equally, just using something like Circus.
Use that as our base. Couple of different things. Easy.
Has just
the only thing is you'd have to introduce some different mechanics if you're going to try to bring in the big ships.
Well, it would have to be the smaller ones to probably fit around the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
But it would still represent Aetherstream.
Yes.
And in all truth, we already have the sculpts for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had ideas and talks about that. I've even done a little bit of playtesting on an Interceptor scale racing game.
So look, we have our team right here. You guys
Yeah.
can have that done in no time, right? I actually do think we should
We
run this
get
by
that
Ross.
done.
I think we could run this by Ross. I think he would be in.
Well, we talked about it around him before, but like I said, we
Yeah,
just
but
haven't gotten
this
to a
is
spot
now
where we've
shaping
got
up to be really
space.
cool. See, we've actually got quite a good plan going.
Just it's just a simple entry level game that people can pick up bits and go, I like this sort of miniature, I can play this, and then if they're all intercompatible in the same set of rules, you can, yeah. A lot of it will be we're actually hand waving because it's ridiculous to have spaceships racing airships, but hey, we can just have fun with it.
I think what you would do is you would sell the miniatures and the rule variations as expansions, and then you would basically
Yeah.
just say whatever icon you want to go around the ring, cool. Just pick a set of rules,
Yeah.
and that's the set of rules you're going with. Because if you wanted to use
Yeah.
the airships, but the spaceship rules, we're not coming to your house and kicking in your door over it.
Yeah, exactly. And just, it'll be fun, yeah. Can we even afford the rules police these days?
No. But I really,
The rules would be fairly generic. It's just a matter of, okay, how you know, if everything's basically within the same type of scale.
well, they'd have to be the same scale to fit on the same board,
Well, I'm talking about like
Tiles.
scale stats wise.
which is why I said you just
Yeah.
pick a set of
Because
rules.
it's not going to be in like miles per hour. It's going to be, okay, I'm traveling
Units.
at speed 6. So
It'll be at units.
Yeah.
an airship traveling at speed 6 is very different from a spaceship traveling at speed 6. But if you were to compare them against each other, but if it's all the same unit, your airships against airships, the scale is the same.
Yeah.
And that's all you
exactly.
really have to focus on.
I like this idea. All right, Brad, we've got about 5 minutes left. What else do we need to know?
So main things, just to kind of do the recap. Next books are coming out very soon. We're wrapping up layout and art. Writing has been all done. And then the last bit of editing and everything like that. So everything's getting put together. Those should be released within this coming year. Hopefully before Gen Con. Hopefully we can get that kicked out, get our Kickstarter done before then. Once those books are done, we're moving on to the Americas. That will be the next set of source books. And after that, other countries expanding beyond. New projects, new ideas, things are coming down the pipeline when we can work them into the production schedule. We need writers. So if anybody wants to write, send us the message. Do the freelancing thing. We got cool stuff going on.
If you don't want to reach me at andy@fawcettgames.com, Brad is, it's big. Brad at fawcettgames.com.
I'm glad I was sat down for that.
I know it was a big surprise. I didn't think you'd guess on your own. But that way, if
Yeah, we definitely need more writers because I've got way more ideas than I've got time for. I'll admit it.
Yeah, that's where a bunch of it comes down to.
act like time is a finite source.
God, yeah. It's the having to work. If I could just do if I could just do this full time, I'd be able to do everything.
Does anybody have any last minute questions for Brad? All right, Brad, you want to say goodnight?
Yep. I'll say good night to everybody. And if there are any questions, any other ideas or anything like that come up, message on Discord. Not always can I respond right away because I do have a day job that I got to deal with, but I always check it and I always will respond eventually, just as I have time, usually within a day.
Joel, you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, that I don't have anything else to add to that other than goodbye. Thank you very much.
All right.